It started with a phone call I wasn't meant to overhear and ended with a silence so loud it cracked the plaster. But before we go any further, tell me in the comments where you're watching or listening from today. I read every single one. It was a Thursday morning, 7:15, and I was in front of the bathroom mirror trying to tame my tie. A deep burgundy one. The kind my wife Elena bought me 3 Christmases ago. She said it made me look trustworthy. I wanted to believe her, so I did. My hands trembled a little, but not from fear, from hope. My stepdaughter Mariana was graduating from medical school that afternoon. Spelman College. 4 years of tuition, lab fees, a used Honda Civic I bought her junior year when the bus schedule stopped working for her overnight rotations. I paid for all of it. Every invoice, every late penalty, every panicked 2 a.m. Cash app when her card got declined at the campus bookstore. I never kept a receipt. That's not what fathers do. At least that's what Eleanor always told me. Then I heard her voice through the bedroom wall. She was on the phone, whispering fast and low, the way she does when she thinks I'm asleep. I killed the faucet. The pipes groaned and went still. I caught the tail end of her sentence. He'll sit in the back. He won't even notice. Terence is her real father, she said, a man named Vincent. You have to understand that. A pause. Then I'll handle it. I stood there with water dripping off my knuckles, staring at myself in the mirror. The face looking back was a man who'd just been handed news he'd always known, but had been refusing to read. I dried my hands slowly, hung the towel on the rack, walked into the bedroom and sat on the edge of the mattress. Elena came in a minute later, phone tucked behind her back like a teenager hiding a cigarette. She gave me that wide, warm smile I fell for 14 years ago at a block party on Georgia Avenue. Almost ready? She asked. I nodded. I didn't mention the call. I wanted to see how far she'd take it. Let me go back. 14 years ago, I met Elena Vasquez at a community center in Northeast D.C. She had a 6-year-old daughter with pigtails and a missing front tooth who hid behind her mother's leg and peeked at me like I was a riddle she hadn't decided to solve yet. That was Mariana. Her biological father, Vincent Shaw, was a name I heard in fragments over the years. The way you hear about a flood that's already dried up. He showed up for birthdays when he remembered, which wasn't often. Elena never badmouthed him in front of Mariana, and I respected that. But she made it clear from day one, it's just us now. We're building something real. So I moved them out of the duplex on Eastern Avenue and into the house I'd been paying on for 8 years in Upper Marlboro. 4 bedrooms, a fenced yard, a detached garage I turned into a woodshop. That house was mine. My name, my mortgage, my sweat in the foundation. I never added Elena to the deed. Not because I didn't trust her, but because my father taught me one thing before he passed. Keep your name on what you build, son. Love doesn't need a paper to prove itself. Elena never asked about the deed. I took that as respect. Maybe it was just patience. I paid for Mariana's braces at 12. I drove her to soccer practice 3 nights a week at the high school. Sat in the bleachers with the other parents. Clapped when she scored. Said nothing when she missed. I helped her with her college application essays at the dining table. The one near the window where the afternoon light came in gold. She'd rest her chin on her hand and chew the end of her pen, and I'd say, just write it like you're telling me a story. She got into Spelman on a partial scholarship. The rest was me. Elena hugged me that night and said, "This is what real fathers do." She used that word a lot. I should have paid closer attention. Vincent showed up maybe twice a year. Christmas sometimes. Mariana's birthday if it fell on a weekend. He'd roll up in whatever car he was leasing that month, always something flashy and never paid off, lean against the hood and smirk like he'd invented parenthood. He'd take Mariana to brunch, bring her back with a new pair of sneakers or a necklace from the mall, and vanish for another 6 months. He never paid a dime of child support. I know because I asked Elena about it once, and she waved her hand like she was shooing a fly. "That's between me and him," she said. "You're the one who's here. I was the one who was here for 14 years. I was the one who was here." The drive to the ceremony was quiet. Elena sat in the passenger seat, typing on her phone, tilting the screen away from me. I kept my eyes on the road. We took the Beltway to 295, then cut through southeast toward the campus. The magnolias had already dropped their petals, but the leaves were that sharp green that makes everything feel like a second chance. Elena put her phone down somewhere around Malcolm X Avenue and turned to me. "Mariana's going to be so happy," she said. I agreed. I meant it. We parked 4 blocks from the arena because the garage was full. I carried the flowers, pink peonies and ferns, Mariana's favorite. Elena walked ahead, heels clicking on the pavement, phone already back in her palm. Inside the building was warm and noisy. Families packed into rows, fanning themselves with programs. I found Mariana's name in the booklet, Mariana Isabel Vasquez Shaw, not my last name. I'd never been asked if I wanted it there. I told myself it didn't matter. Names are just names. Elena led me to a row near the middle. Good seats. Then she stopped, glanced at her phone, and said, "Actually, honey, can you move back a few rows? I'm saving these for Mariana's sorority sisters." She said it casually, the way you'd ask someone to pass the salt. "They're running late, and I promised Mariana." I looked at the row, 4 empty seats. I looked at Elena. She didn't blink. "Sure," I said. I moved back 5 rows and took the aisle. I set the flowers in my lap. From where I sat, I could see the back of Elena's head and the stage beyond it. The seats beside her stayed empty for 25 minutes. Then a man walked in, tall, silver at the temples, a denim jacket even though it was 80 degrees. Vincent Shaw. He sat right next to Elena. She leaned over and whispered something. He laughed. They looked comfortable together, like people who'd rehearsed this moment. I watched him pull out his phone and take a selfie with the stage behind him. He posted it before the first name was called. I know because Mariana's cousin liked it, and the notification lit up my screen. The caption read, "Proud father moment." My baby girl did it. My hands tightened around the flower stems. I felt a thorn press into my palm. I didn't let go. When Mariana's name was called, she walked across that stage with her chin high and her tassel swinging. Elena stood. Vincent stood. They cheered. I stood too, 5 rows back, holding flowers nobody was looking for. After the ceremony, I pushed through the crowd. Elena was hugging Mariana near the side exit. Vincent had his arm around Mariana's shoulder, posing for a photo someone else was taking. I walked up and held out the peonies. Mariana smiled. That kind of smile that's already halfway past you before it reaches her eyes. "Thanks, Dad Arthur," she said. 2 words with a wall between them. Vincent shook my hand, firm, confident, like he was welcoming me into his own house. "Good to finally meet the guy who's been holding it down," he said. I looked at his hand around mine. I thought about every tuition payment, every oil change, every $20 bill I'd slipped into Mariana's coat pocket when she didn't ask for it. Takes a village, right? I didn't say anything else. I let go of his hand and stepped back. Elena glanced at me and mouthed, "Thank you." Then she turned back to Vincent and laughed at something he said. I drove home alone. Elena texted me that they were going to dinner to celebrate. She didn't invite me. The text said, "Mariana wants a small family dinner, just her and her parents. You understand, right? Love you." I sat in the driveway for a long time after I read that. The engine ticked as it cooled. The streetlights came on one by one down Foxfield Lane. I read the message again. Her parents. I was not inside that word. I went inside. The house was dark and still in a way that felt deliberate, like it had already started forgetting me. I sat at the dining table, my chair, the one closest to the window. I put my phone face down. I didn't throw it. I didn't curse. I sat there and let the hurt settle into something heavy and quiet. Something that wasn't anger. Something that didn't need to be. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling fan, spinning and spinning, doing nothing useful, just stirring air. When the sky started turning pale, I got up. I made coffee. I drank it standing at the counter because sitting at that table felt wrong. By 8 a.m., I'd made 3 decisions. By 9 a.m., I'd started on the first one. I called the bank, Capital One, the branch on Central Avenue. I'd been with them for 20 years, since before the house, before Elena, before any of this. I asked them to pull every auto debit tied to Mariana's accounts. The tuition fund, the car insurance, the monthly transfer I'd set up for her rent in that apartment off Clayton Avenue, the one I'd co-signed because her credit wasn't there yet. The woman on the phone paused. "You want to stop all of them?" she asked. "Today?" "Yes," I said. Then I called the apartment management office. Mariana's lease was in both our names. I informed them I was withdrawing as co-signer at the earliest allowable date. The woman said she'd need to notify the primary tenant. "Go ahead," I said. The third call was to a realtor, a woman named Felicia Crane out of Largo, someone I'd met at a neighborhood cookout years ago. She answered on the first ring. I told her I was thinking of selling the house. She asked if I was sure. I said I was past sure. I was finished. She came by the next day, walked through every room, knocked on the walls, checked the faucets, made notes on her tablet. She paused in the kitchen. "Your wife know about this?" she asked carefully. "She's celebrating," I said. "I'll handle it." Felicia nodded. "We can list by Friday if you want." I wanted. Elena came home that evening glowing. She talked about the restaurant, about how Mariana had cried during Vincent's toast, about how wonderful it all was. She didn't ask how I was. She didn't notice the filing cabinet open in the spare room. She didn't notice me sitting in the kitchen with a manila envelope and a look on my face like a man reading his own obituary. "You're quiet," she said on her way to bed. "Long day," I answered. She kissed my forehead and went to sleep. I stayed at the table until midnight, going through every receipt, every check, every bank statement. 14 years of holding it down. The numbers told a story nobody had ever asked to hear. The offer came in 11 days. A young couple from Laurel, Derek and Tanya Sims. He worked in cybersecurity. She taught second grade. They had a 2-year-old and a baby due in October. Pre-approved, ready to close fast. Felicia called me with the number. "They're asking 5 below list," she said. I thought about the dining table, the chair by the window, the spot I'd always taken without anyone telling me to, and the spot I'd just been moved from without anyone asking. "Tell them yes," I said. I signed the papers on a Wednesday. The title office was cold and bright. My hand was steady except once on the last page. Then it was done. I packed the truck over 3 nights, only what mattered. My tools, my father's watch, the photo of my mother on the mantel, clothes and a box of records I'd been keeping since before I met Elena. I left the rest where it was. I left her things exactly as she'd arranged them. Every pillow, every candle, every framed photo of a family I was apparently never part of. I rented a small place in Annapolis near the water. 1 bedroom, a kitchenette, a window that looked out on the Chesapeake if you leaned just right. It was quiet in a way that felt chosen instead of leftover. Elena found out on a Saturday. I know because Felicia texted me at 3:15 p.m. "She's at the house." New owners answered. "It's loud." I was sitting at a crab shack on Forest Street eating a sandwich. I put the phone down and chewed slowly. I imagined Elena standing on the porch. I imagined her face. I didn't feel satisfied. I didn't feel guilty either. I felt clear. She called 16 times that afternoon. I answered on the 17th. Her voice came through hot and splintered. "Arthur, what did you do? Where is my house?" "It was my house," I said. "You just lived in it." She started in with threats, lawyers, abandonment, how dare I, how she'd given me the best years of her life. I listened for a while, then I said, "You gave me the bill for the best years of your life." "That's different." She hung up. Mariana called 20 minutes later. Her voice was different from Elena's, softer, tighter, like she was holding something fragile. "Why?" she asked. "Just one word." "Ask your mother," I said. "Ask her who sat 5 rows back at your graduation. Ask her who paid every bill your real father never touched. Then ask yourself who you sent that dinner invitation to." She didn't answer right away. I could hear Elena in the background, sharp and loud. Mariana's breathing was unsteady. "I didn't think you'd actually—" "That's the problem," I said. "Nobody thought I would." The line went quiet. I waited. She hung up. The courthouse in Upper Marlboro smelled like old carpet and lemon cleaner. I wore my navy blazer, the one I save for funerals and occasions I wish were funerals. Elena arrived first, heels too loud for the hallway. She had a lawyer, a young man with a fresh haircut and a briefcase that still had the sticker residue on the handle. Mariana came in behind her, eyes down, phone clutched like a life preserver. And behind Mariana, there he was. Vincent Shaw, arms crossed, leaning against the back wall like he had front row tickets to somebody else's wreck. The mediator was a woman in her early 60s, glasses on a chain, voice like a librarian who'd seen too much. She opened the file, read it once, and looked up. "We're here about the property on Foxfield Lane," she said. "Let's keep it civil." Elena's lawyer started talking immediately, marital home, emotional distress, abandonment. I let him go. I let the words pile up like dirty dishes. When the mediator turned to me, I stood. I placed the envelope on the table. It landed with a soft thud. "The house was titled solely in my name," I said. "Always has been. I purchased it 6 years before the marriage. I maintained it. I paid the mortgage. I paid the taxes. Here's the deed, the mortgage history, and a full record of every payment I made toward my stepdaughter's education, transportation, housing, and living expenses over 14 years. I slid the documents forward. Elena's lawyer reached for them. The mediator got there first. She read. She didn't rush. Elena leaned forward. "Money isn't what this is about, Arthur." "It was when it was mine," I said. The room shifted. I felt it the way you feel a storm coming, not on your skin, but in your chest. The mediator looked at Elena over her glasses. "The property was solely in Mr. Preston's name. Maryland law does not automatically transfer ownership through marriage." Vincent stepped forward then. "I'm her father," he said, pointing at Mariana. "She grew up in that house?" I turned to him for the first time and really looked. Same denim jacket, same easy smile. Same man who'd never written a check or set an alarm for a school morning in his life. Did you ever pay child support? I asked. The grin dropped. Because I have receipts for every gap you left, I said. Braces, tuition, car payments, rent deposits, grocery runs, medical bills, 14 years of gaps. Mariana looked up. Her eyes were wet, but there was something else too. The same look she had in 4th grade when she finally figured out fractions. Not happy, just awake. The mediator closed the file. There's no legal basis to challenge the sale, she said. We're done here. Outside, the sun hit the parking lot hard. I stood on the steps breathing air that tasted like it belonged to me. Mariana came out last. She stopped a few feet away. She didn't touch me. She didn't apologize. I didn't know about all of it, she said quietly. The money, the bills, Mom never told me. I know, I said. I shouldn't have at the graduation. No, I said. You shouldn't have. She nodded. We stood there in the kind of silence that doesn't need to be filled, just held. Winter came early that year. The Chesapeake turned the color of old iron, and the wind off the water rattled the windows in my little apartment. I bought a space heater and learned how to cook fish without burning it. Small victories. I started going to the VFW post on West Street. Thursday nights, there was a man there named Luther Gibbons, 83 years old, Korean war vet, hands like leather mitts, eyes that missed nothing. He sat on the same stool every week and drank the same beer. One night, he looked at me sideways and said, "You got that look." "What look?" I asked. "Like a man who just put down something heavy and don't know what to do with his hands." I laughed. "First real laugh in weeks. You'll figure it out," he said. "The hands always find something new to hold." Mariana texted me in December. One line. "Can we talk?" I stared at it longer than I should have. I thought about her at 6 years old, hiding behind Elena's leg, peeking at me like I was a puzzle. I thought about the dining table, the pen she used to chew, the essays we wrote together. "When you're ready to listen too," I wrote back. We met at a coffee shop on Main Street in Annapolis. Neutral ground. She looked older. Tired maybe, or maybe just honest for the first time. She told me Vincent had stopped returning her calls 3 weeks after the courthouse. He came to the graduation because Mom asked him, she said. He posted the selfie, got his moment, and left. He hasn't answered since. I didn't say I told you so. I didn't need to. The silence said it better. "I'm sorry," she said. "Not because of the house. Because I let them move you to the back row, and I didn't say anything." That one landed. I felt it behind my ribs in the place where the old hurt used to live. "Apologies don't fix it," I said. "But they're a start." We finished our coffee. She hugged me on the sidewalk, awkward and brief, like two people learning how to stand in the same room again. It wasn't a happy ending. It was an honest one. I could live with that. These days, I sit by the water most mornings. I bring a thermos and a folding chair, the cheap kind that takes a minute to open right. I watch the bay wake up slow and gray and unbothered. Luther was right. The hands do find something new. I started building birdhouses in the kitchen. Small ones, nothing fancy, cedar and pine. I give them to the neighbors. It's not much, but it's mine. And some nights, I still think about that chair at the dining table. The one by the window. The one I always sat in. The one nobody ever officially gave me, but nobody ever took away. Until they did. I think about how I used to push it in quietly after every meal, trying not to take up too much space, as if making myself smaller would guarantee my place. I don't do that anymore. Here's what it took me 14 years and one graduation ceremony to understand. Sacrifice without acknowledgement is just servitude. And when they tell you you're family, right up until someone more convenient walks through the door, believe what they do, not what they say. So, if you've ever been the one paying the bills while someone else took the bow, if you've ever been moved to the back row of your own life, I hope my story reminds you of something. You don't have to yell to take your power back. You don't have to break anything. Sometimes all you have to do is stop holding up a roof that was never meant to shelter you and walk out into the open air. That is enough. That is courage. Thank you for watching. Share your thoughts in the comments. I truly value every story and every voice. Don't forget to subscribe to Voices of Uncle Arthur and share this video with someone who needs to hear it.